Look at this creature. It has no bones, but it can crack a crab's shell. It has no voice, but it can communicate through a mesmerizing light show on its skin. Most organisms on Earth follow a predictable evolutionary path. But the octopus, it looks like a glitch in the matrix. For years, conspiracy theorists and even some bold scientists have asked the same question. Is it possible that this creature didn't originate on Earth? Today, we aren't just looking at a seafood delicacy. We are dissecting a high-performance biocomputer from the stars. I am Shirley, and today we are diving deep to ask, is the octopus actually an alien? Let's start with the hardware. If you think your human body is advanced, the octopus is here to humble you. It has 3 hearts. 2 of them are dedicated solely to pumping blood to the gills, while the third circulates oxygenated blood to the rest of the body. Here's the horror movie twist: when the octopus swims, that third heart actually stops beating. This is why they prefer crawling. Swimming literally exhausts their main engine. But the real alien tech is in the nervous system. The octopus doesn't have one brain, it has 9. There's a central brain between the eyes, but each of the 8 arms contains its own mini-brain, a cluster of neurons that allows the arm to act independently. While you are still struggling to coordinate your left and right hands during a simple task, an octopus's 8 legs are essentially multitasking in 8 different dimensions. One arm can be opening a jar, another can be scouting for predators, and a third could be, well, just bored. They don't just have arms, they have 8 sentient associates. In 2011, a giant North Pacific octopus weighing 80 pounds managed to escape through a drainage hole only 5 centimeters wide. And the entire process took less than 2 minutes. Just how god-tier is an octopus's intelligence? In one experiment, an octopus was locked inside a glass jar. In less than a minute, it unscrewed the lid from the inside and escaped. Later, researchers put a small fish inside a baby bottle as a test. If it were you, wouldn't you first pull off the rubber nipple, then unscrew the cap to get the fish? Well, that's exactly what the octopus did. Finally, researchers cranked up the difficulty. They prepared a complex maze box consisting of 9 different levels. The prize at the finish line? Its favorite fresh shrimp. As soon as the valve opened, the octopus followed the scent into the pipe and quickly located the entrance to the maze. Level by level, the octopus figured out the mechanics of every single gate, passing through them all smoothly to enjoy the feast it earned with its brilliant mind. We've all seen an octopus camouflage, but do you truly understand the physics behind it? Their skin is covered in chromatophores, tiny sacs of pigment controlled directly by their nerves. But it's not just about changing color. They can also transform the texture of their skin. They can sprout papillae to mimic the jagged edges of a rock or the extreme softness of seaweed. This is a truly breathtaking talent for imitation and mimicry. In just 0.2 seconds, they can perfectly blend into a coral reef that's 10 times faster than a chameleon. To evade predators, they can even impersonate the predator's own species. Not only that, they are masters of tool use using coconut shells and seashells as mobile armor, hiding inside to protect their soft bodies the moment danger strikes. But here's the most mind-blowing part. Technically, an octopus is colorblind. They see the world in black and white, yet they can match the colors of their surroundings with 100% accuracy. Scientists believe their skin contains light-sensing proteins, which means their skin has a mind of its own. It can react automatically without even involving the brain. It is, quite literally, a walking, shape-shifting optical illusion. Octopus romance is not about flowers and songs, it's a high-stakes mission. The male has a specialized arm called the hectocotylus, which is essentially his reproductive organ. He often stays at a distance, stretching this arm out with extreme caution. Why? Because in the world of cephalopods, a hungry female might decide that her mate is more useful as a snack than a partner. But the real horror begins after the deed is done. Once the mission is accomplished, the octopus activates a literal self-destruct sequence. This is triggered by a tiny organ between their eyes called the optic gland. After mating, this gland receives a suicide command and starts flooding the body with steroid hormones. This causes a total behavioral breakdown. They stop eating, they become lethargic, and some even start self-mutilating, tearing off their own arms until they die of exhaustion. Scientists performed a hardcore experiment when they surgically removed this death gland. The octopus stopped dying. It started eating again, and its lifespan extended for months. This proves that their death isn't a natural decay. It's a programmed execution. It's as if nature intentionally set an expiration date on these geniuses. If they weren't forced into this tragic self-destruction, their ability to edit RNA and think with 9 brains would have probably led them to colonize the stars by now. Beyond all the hardcore data about the octopus, there is a true story that moved the entire world to tears. The 2020 documentary, My Octopus Teacher, records the 300-plus days that Craig spent with a wild female octopus. Their meeting began at a house built of seashells, a defense constructed by her intelligence. At first, she was a wary, alien creature, but after Craig's persistent visits for 26 days, a miracle happened. She actively reached out a tentacle and held Craig's hand, using her suckers to greedily sense the body heat of another species. In that moment, the barrier between species completely collapsed. She would imitate a human walking, like a playful girl, and once walked away in a huff because Craig accidentally dropped his equipment. To find this stubborn friend, Craig tracked her predatory trails like a detective until he found her again under a rock. To his surprise, the octopus rested on his hand without any resentment. This sense of security stemmed from her memory, one that lasts a lifetime and is deeply tied to emotional experience. However, the laws of the ocean are never merciful. Craig once watched helplessly as a pajama shark bit off one of her tentacles. Heartbroken, he tried to feed her, but the octopus, weak and turned ghastly white, refused any intervention. Yet, just 100 days later, she achieved nature's most shocking nirvana. She grew a completely new tentacle. When the shark attacked again, this genius of evolution showed top-tier wisdom. She used seaweed to mask her scent and even suctioned shells onto herself to become an armored warrior. In the end, she even audaciously hitched a ride by sticking herself directly onto the shark's back. But the farewell arrived as scheduled. On the 324th day of her life, she completed mating. As a female octopus, the moment she laid tens of thousands of eggs, the self-destruct sequence inside her body was violently activated. She guarded her offspring without leaving for a single moment until she starved, withered, and exhausted the last spark of her life. At the end of her life, she no longer hid. Instead, she swam slowly to Craig and quietly attached herself to his chest. No wariness, only a final goodbye. The next day, when Craig saw her again, her body was being consumed by a school of fish. Craig ultimately chose to respect the laws of nature, enduring the pain of being a silent bystander. This is the life of an octopus, brief yet brilliant, possessing the wisdom of 9 brains, yet ultimately choosing to return to the cycle of the great ocean. If they are so intelligent, why haven't they taken over the Earth yet? They can recognize individual human faces, and they've even been known to pull deliberate pranks, like spraying water directly into your face, or short-circuiting lab lights by precisely aiming a jet of water. The only factor preventing the rise of an octopus empire is their tragic lifespan. Most octopuses only live for 1 to 5 years, and they die shortly after mating. This means they have no way to pass their accumulated knowledge down to the next generation. They are like a high-performance, cutting-edge AI that gets factory reset every few years. If a mother octopus could teach her children what she had learned, we might not be the masters of this planet anymore. Perhaps it would be them sitting behind the camera right now, dissecting us. Whether they arrived on Earth via a comet millions of years ago, or are simply a miraculous accident of evolution, the octopus remains the ultimate mystery. They are the sovereigns of a world we can barely comprehend, a world of biting cold, crushing pressure, and absolute silence. They remind us that intelligence doesn't have to look like a human. It can also have 8 arms, blue blood, and 9 brains. I am Shirley, and this is Shirley's Strange Tales. Next time you're sitting at a sushi bar, stare at that tentacle and wonder, are you eating a snack, or are you eating a genius from another world? We'll see you in the next tale.